question that has been around since humans discovered we were slightly more than just giant meat bags. Why am I like this? And what's this all about, you may be asking yourself. Let me show you. Do you get it now? Why does any human need 3 taupe skirts that are so similar? Okay, in my sort of springtime goal of getting things decluttered, I'm also in the mood to recycle. A lot of you requested closet purges, but honestly, I haven't really acquired too many new pieces of clothing. I've been trying to really limit myself and work with what I have. The ratio of how many new dresses I was buying for specific cute occasions versus the number of specific cute occasions that I actually attend was a little imbalanced. I thought it would be fun to take some items of my wardrobe that maybe is close to donating, flipping them. I am going to do 3 items. Let me show you. First, as you saw, one of the taupe skirts is gonna get the X. Now that I have another taupe maxi skirt, for some gosh ding dang reason, make these into secret pants, culottes. Is that how you say that? How do you pronounce culottes?
It's pronounced clothes.
No, it's not. Okay, editing, Rachel.
Culottes.
Thanks, champ.
Being honest here, I did get a case of the sentimenties when thinking about chopping up the skirt. So instead, I will choose the skirt that I didn't make and have no emotional attachment to.
Next, this yellow top, I got it forever ago. It's fast fashion. I just have sort of a similar yellow top. I think that's kind of my sign to turn this into something different. And whereas it's a little bit baggy, I think we have some room to play with. And finally, this blazer. I got it on ThredUp back in the early years of when I was using ThredUp. It's from Banana Republic, and you're the first I'm willing to admit this to. I'm not a blazer bitch anymore. I don't reach for them anymore as much as I used to back in, like, you know, the 40s days. I'm going to harvest its materials and make it into something else. We've got our work cut out for us. Before I start searching for patterns, this video is sponsored quite topically by ThredUp to put together a little thrifted spring outfit. Here is sponsor Rachel. All right, essentially, if you've been here any amount of time on this channel, you know I love ThredUp. And so I thought this time around, it would be fun to try to make a complete spring outfit or 2. I tried to keep things under like $20-ish, and they have really cute Earth Day packaging, so let's look. Aw, Earth Day. ThredUp is a massive online thrift store. It's my go-to place for secondhand items. Thousands upon thousands of items that are up to 90% off of estimated retail. For instance, a brand that I really love is Madewell, so I'll go in and I will just type in Madewell on the search bar. A lot of times I'll just narrow down with the drop-down menus, really specific, what color I want, what shape I want, what size, what material. Let's see what I got this time, shall we? Ooh, technically, I think this is a dress. I'm not gonna use it as a dress. Ain't nobody gonna see these kneecaps. Beautiful skirt, still has the tags on it. $162. ThredUp had it for $15.99. So. And then adding on to that, some sandals from Madewell. These were estimated at $95, but ThredUp had them for $30.99. Hold please, these are confusing sandals. And then I also grabbed a cute little hair scarf. But wait, there's more. In case I want some options. This skirt, this was estimated at $29, but ThredUp had it for $15.99. So yes, as always, I highly recommend ThredUp. And if you would like to check out ThredUp, make sure that you head to the link in my description, and then you can use the code Rachel for 35% off of your first order. As always, thank you so much ThredUp for sponsoring this video, and before ados are in any way furthered, let's recycle. The cool thing is, call me easily wooed. I can just go on a website like Etsy. There are patterns for like any kind of shirt. Shut up. You can just print out and meticulously tape together. Not my favorite activity. I've saved a couple that I was ogling respectfully, of course. So these are the main ones that I was thinking. For the yellow gingham top, milkmaid blouse. For the blazer, because I definitely am not gonna have a ton of material for that, I'm gonna go this one. A tiny little corset top with a laced up back.
I am also pissed, kitty.
Eventually.
Let's talk game plan. As you saw, for the yellow blouse, we're gonna make this cute little milkmaid top. I am admittedly in my Bo Peep era and I'm not too sorry about it. For the blazer, I'm gonna make this cute little corset and I'm hoping to add some embroidery and some bias tape around the edges. And then finally turning the skirt into a secret pants. Go team!
Now, if we just move the evidence and carnage of the great de-stuffening of 2024. Taking this pattern by pattern. Sorry, I had to move your entrails.
I will say it's much easier cutting out paper patterns for patterns that aren't that big, like the corset. The milkmaid top was a little bit more difficult and time consuming, but it really wasn't that bad. All that preemptive complaining for nothing.
Slipped into something a little more comfortable. Beep beep. Herein lies the problem. I always buy cute clothes for filming, but then when it comes to making or sewing anything, I choose goblin mode. Oh, dang! I'm gonna start with the yellow blouse because I feel like it's probably gonna be a little bit more complicated. The sleeves are actually a bit more balloony than I remember. Makes my job a little bit easier. I think I'm gonna leave the sleeves as is. I don't know, again, if I have enough fabric, but we can make something work. My job right now, one of my favorite occupations, wrecking it.
Simultaneously, one of the upsides and downsides of upcycling is that you have to be very, very conscious of how you place all these pattern pieces. And for my big old monkey brain, I was having a really hard time figuring out how to get all of these pattern pieces to fit. And I did not succeed, so I ended up having to cut into those sleeves. Okay, here are the pattern pieces that I have so far. Since I had to get a little creative with this, did not have quite enough fabric to keep the sleeves. I think what I'm gonna do is go to my fabric stash and grab a neutral like white bed sheet or something, and then I'm gonna use that for the sleeves. Hopefully it'll look something like this. Maybe. Because this fabric is so thin, I do want to line it with the same white fabric, so let's go. Thankfully, I have a lot of white bedsheet type material. Kind of nice. This one. That'll do. All right. Again, here are the pattern pieces, but now I have pinned the lining layer on, so I will sew those. Also decided that aside from the sleeve being that white material, I'm also gonna make the yabos out of that white material. I'm going to put those aside. Also, look at this sleepy man. Gotta bump up the exposure. There we go. There he is. All right, back to work. Okay, today's a little tedious. Tried to keep in some of the seams that were already there on the blazer. Dimensionality to it, especially the front and the side pieces. I'm hoping that lines up correctly with my actual bust, but if not, I think it's still like a nice little detail. I told myself that's all I was gonna do for today, just to kind of break up the monotony. Oh my God. The amount of mental gymnastics that I just went through. I was trying to think of the noun version of monotonous. Monotonousment. The sun is starting to get blocked by the eclipse. Nick left me some reading material, some sick eyewear.
All right.
Even though mosquitoes treated me like an appetizer for the table of 15, astronomy's rad. Hello. I got to work attaching the lining layers to the outer layers both the yellow top, the corset. I just took a stash fabric that some of you may recognize. Basically just basted those, as at least one of the Avengers has probably said at one point in time. Let us assemble. Was that the absolute stupidest bit that I've ever done in my entire life? Maybe, but also, I got to eat cookies, so who's the real winner here? Tastes like grandma. I made sure to try it on before I actually sewed anything together. And the back could be a little bit tighter, as well as these side things needed to come forward a little bit. To solve this, I did a little bit bigger of a seam allowance for the front two seams. I also modified it a little bit from the pattern piece, where the solid straps I turned into these straps that I can put ribbons through. It's time to add some elastics, my friends. The amount of dog hair on every single piece. But regardless, this is kind of what I like to call my pool floaty method. Elastic on the top and the bottom. The pattern itself calls for you to make ties out of whatever fabric you want. Thread the tie through the top and the chest area and then tie it. You know, you go to tie the chest area and you're also tightening the top of the sleeves. I'm gonna stick with my tried and true elastic on top and bottom. Let's get stretchy. Behold, the Great Chungus. The Great Chungus! We are going to add some embroidery to the corset. My general plan is to add it to this center section. I just did some scrolling on ye old Etsy and I found an embroidery pattern that I think I like. Thankfully, I'm past the point of thinking that I'm going to actually chop off all of my fingers with how intense this machinery is. For now, anyway. I had to get real familiar with her when working on Padme, let me tell you. Okie oh, ta-da. Underestimate how much taking on 3 different projects at once was gonna be. Now, why would you make that completely valid and astute observation? We plug this baby in. Okay, so we've got some borders here. This one's kind of nice. You can see where the edges are gonna go. So top is gonna go there, bottom. Perfect. Edges. All right, I think that'll do. Let's hope this works. Ta-da! So, it's definitely subtle. I gotta put that thing back, flip it, and reverse it, and make sure that I leave about this much from the stitch. Back in you go. Mirror that, and then move it over. So that's a little bit too far. And move it over even more. Boop. I think that'll be good. Well, let's give it a gooba, shall we? There we go.
5 minutes later.
Wow,
Look at that. What I need to do now is take this off, peel off the interfacing on the back, start working on the bias tape that's gonna go all around the edges to hide all of these disgusting seams. Unsightly. And then I have to figure out grommets. Ideally, look, you know me. Ideally, I would love to hand embroider those holes. Those holes should be aesthetic as hell, but I'm so tired. We'll see how I'm feeling. Maybe I'll be up for hand embroidering tonight, but if not, I'm just gonna do metal grommets. Let's go. I started clipping on the bias tape and I just wasn't sure how I felt about it, as you can tell by my pensive thumb. So I took it all off and decided to hand stitch the entire hem. And you know, at that point, I decided why not just do embroidered grommet holes. Secret pants time. I saw a lot of tutorials that literally just took the shape of the skirt and sewed like this. And while I think that wouldn't be too much of a problem because these aren't gonna be form-fitting and they're just gonna be like palazzo pants, I would rather kind of do it right. So I am going to be following this tutorial. Very helpful. I swear to you, the reason I chuck out most patterns is reading a pattern for the first time or the first 15 times is akin to when someone's trying to explain board game rules to me. With the skirt still inside out, shift it around so that the front crotch curves and the back crotch curves. This person took an existing pair of pants that they have. I will use these because they're high-waisted and they fit really comfortably. Fold it in half so that you get crotch pattern here. Goes like this. Fold the skirt inside out and in half. Zipper is going to be the back because this has pockets, so that will go on the sides. Let me just try this. Let me break this down in a concise way. After making sure that all the layers were right up against each other, I put that crotch seam in, moved the zipper out of the way, and then came the point of no return. Following that cut all the way down so that it looked something like this. Then you're gonna stare at it for a little while because the idea of pants just drops your IQ by about 25 points. Or then you realize, no, that's right. Pin those together, reattaching the zipper. Stare at it even more because you forget how pants even work. And sew. Now that the front crotch and the back crotch are sewn together, all you have to do is sew along the pants line. And then it's really not so complicated. To finish everything up, I had an extra bra corset strap that I ordered for Padme that I decided to use on the yellow blouse. I also threaded the brown ribbon through the top and gathered the bust. Everything is ready, let's frickin' do it. The deed is done. I feel like I remember saying something about if I ever try to do 3 items in one video again, you should slap me. We did it, we're done. Honestly, I'm getting my horn tootin' hands ready. I don't know what that looks like. Toot toot. Really proud of myself. A lot of times, especially in the kind of videos where I do multiple projects in one, always at least one that I'm lukewarm about, if not very critical of. But I think this might be the first time that I really am happy with all 3 items. Quick wrap up, let's break down all 3 items and talk about what went well and what didn't go well. Starting with this, I feel like if I were to make one garment of clothing for the rest of my life, it would be this kind of thing, like a corset belt or stays. It's such a staple item to me that I can mix and match with other
things that I already own. So it gets way more use than say just a dress or a shirt. This is the first one that I've had that allows like the dress fabric or the shirt fabric to peek through at the top. I think I have to adjust the straps because it rides up a little. And I really didn't have that much of the blazer left over. These are the bigger chunks. I'm going to definitely keep these, maybe make like bunting out of it or put these pockets on something else. I think would be really cute. Not a lot of wastage, which is really, really nice and something that you kind of have to think about for upcycling. Otherwise, what's the point? Next, the yellow blouse. About 70% through, I was really worried that complete white upper half looked really weird because I had the lining on the bust and not the sleeves. When I was trying it on, the sleeves almost looked gray compared to the bust, was throwing me off a little bit. But when I just tried it on now, it looked fine. So I don't know. I was really afraid of how it was gonna fit and if it was gonna be weird and uncomfortable. So comfy. The hooks and eyes in the back worked way better than zippers do. Loathe zippers with my entire soul. However, she needs a little bit more work. Much like a bully in any high school teen comedy, she's pretty on the outside, but boy, does she need work on the inside. Both this and that blouse is an instance of me being so glad that I don't work for commissions or I'm not a seamstress for someone else. Oh my God. So I do have some work cleaning up the seams and making sure that they don't fray because the lining fabric I use, catch it performing over my head because the fray. No, not my best. Finally, the secret pants, which were very much a last minute thing, very simple. Admittedly, kind of hard to tell the difference. Extra sworn secret pants. Because you really can't tell unless you start doing like high kicks, which if you're me, happens more than you would think. So yes, I also have to do some cleanup on the inside of that, but I'm glad that I'm gonna have a little bit of a difference between the other taupe skirts that I have. And now I can justify keeping it. That is it. It has been so long since I've done a video where I make like actual clothing for myself and not for a costume or something dramatic. And I am totally gonna wear all three of these items so much and way more than I was going to with their original forms, which is the whole point for me of upcycling. Hopefully you had fun too. Let me know if you did. Thank you so much ThredUp for sponsoring this video. Once again, if you want to check out ThredUp, you can head to the link in my description and make sure you use the code Rachel for 35% off of your first order. I love you whether you're new or old to this channel. If you're new here and you feel like sticking around, feel free to subscribe. I upload every other Friday. And we have fun here. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!
Got to carry my peanuts outside. Very important.
Crows better like those peanuts. Side quest started. Beep, 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 beep. There's magic in the air this evening. Magic in the air. Whoa! Not for you. Your Majesty.
I'm gonna pop some tags.